Your virtual assistant can destroy your business or 10x your revenue. I'm going to be revealing the exact remote team strategy that's helped me scale multiple businesses without the overhead of physical locations. This is the same framework that allowed companies like GitLab, Buffer, and Zapier to build billion-dollar businesses with fully distributed teams while their competitors struggled with office politics and geographic limitations. So how do you build a remote team that actually works? I've spent the last 3 years perfecting remote team operations across multiple companies so you don't have to. I boiled it down to 5 core systems that make remote teams more effective than traditional offices. Let me break down the exact framework that transforms remote work from a liability into your biggest competitive advantage. Most people think remote work is just working from home with video calls. But that approach creates chaos, miscommunication, and productivity disasters. The entrepreneurs who succeed with remote teams understand that distributed work requires completely different systems, processes, and mindset than traditional office environments. The first major shift is moving from time-based work to outcome-based work. In an office, managers can see who's at their desk and mistake presence for productivity. Remote work forces you to measure what actually matters: results, not hours. I learned this the hard way when I first tried building a remote team. I was still thinking like an office manager, trying to track hours and monitor activity instead of focusing on deliverables. My team was logging hours but producing mediocre work because I hadn't clearly defined what success looked like. The breakthrough came when I switched to project-based milestones with clear deadlines and quality standards. Instead of asking, how many hours did you work today, I started asking, did you hit your deliverable and meet the quality bar? This single shift eliminated 90% of the management overhead while dramatically improving results. But outcome-based work only works if you have crystal clear communication systems. Remote teams live or die based on information flow, and most companies treat communication as an afterthought rather than a strategic advantage. The communication framework that changed everything for me was implementing asynchronous-first processes. Instead of defaulting to meetings for every discussion, we built systems where information is documented, searchable, and accessible to everyone who needs it. Here's how this works in practice. Every project starts with a detailed brief that includes objectives, success criteria, timeline, and resources. Team members ask questions and provide updates in written format within project channels. Video calls are reserved for complex discussions only that generally benefit from real-time interaction. This approach has multiple benefits. First, it accommodates different time zones without forcing anyone to work odd hours. Second, it creates a permanent record of decisions and context that new team members can reference. Third, it forces people to think through their communications more carefully, which reduces misunderstandings. The key insight is that asynchronous communication isn't slower than synchronous communication. It's actually faster for most businesses because it eliminates the coordination overhead of scheduling meetings and allows people to respond when they're mentally fresh, rather than when their calendar says they should be available. But even perfect communication systems won't save you if you hire the wrong people for remote work. Remote team members need completely different skills than office employees, and most hiring processes don't account for these differences. The biggest difference is self-direction versus external motivation. In an office environment, the social dynamics and physical presence of managers provide external structure and motivation. Remote workers need to create their own structure and maintain motivation without external cues. During our hiring process, we specifically test for self-direction by giving candidates a small project to complete independently with minimal guidance. We're not just evaluating the quality of their work, we're assessing how they approach ambiguous tasks, how they communicate when they need clarification, and whether they can deliver results without constant check-ins. Communication skills become exponentially more important in remote environments. A team member who's adequate at explaining things face-to-face might be completely ineffective in written communication. At Wing, we test written communication explicitly by having candidates explain complex concepts through email and evaluate how clearly they articulate their thoughts. Time zone compatibility is another crucial factor that most companies ignore. Having team members spread across 12 time zones might sound globally sophisticated, but it creates coordination nightmares. If you're thinking about building your own remote team, I've put together a comprehensive guide that breaks down 50 specific tasks that you can delegate to remote team members, complete with hiring criteria and management systems. The third critical system is creating accountability without micromanagement. This is where most remote teams fall apart. Managers either become helicopter parents who destroy autonomy, or they go completely hands-off and lose visibility into progress and problems. The solution is implementing transparent progress tracking that provides visibility without being intrusive. We use a system where every team member updates their progress on key projects twice per week using a simple template: what they accomplished, what they're working on next, and what obstacles they're facing. These updates are posted in team channels where everyone can see them, which creates natural peer accountability. Team members know their colleagues can see progress, which motivates consistent performance without requiring manager oversight. The obstacle identification is crucial because it allows managers to spot problems early and provide support before small issues become major delays. Team members hit roadblocks but don't communicate them until deadlines are missed. We've also implemented what we call default to documentation. Whenever someone solves a problem, figures out a process, or creates something useful, they're expected to document it in our shared knowledge base. This prevents the same problems from recurring and allows the team's collective intelligence to compound over time. The fourth system addresses the biggest hidden cost of remote work: cultural cohesion. Without the natural bonding that happens in physical spaces, remote teams can become collections of individual contributors rather than cohesive units working towards shared goals. Many companies try to solve this with virtual happy hours and online team building exercises, which are great, but if you rely on these approaches only, it misses the point. Real team cohesion comes from shared struggles, mutual respect, and collective achievement, not forced social interactions. We build culture through challenging projects that require collaboration. When team members work together to solve difficult problems and achieve meaningful goals, they develop genuine respect and camaraderie. The social connection becomes a byproduct of professional success rather than an artificial overlay. We also invest heavily in team member development. Remote workers often feel isolated from career growth opportunities because they're not physically present for informal mentoring and advancement discussions. We've formalized development pathways and create explicit opportunities for skill building and internal promotion. Regular one-on-one conversations are essential, but they need to be beyond project updates. We use these sessions to understand each team member's career goals, identify growth opportunities, and address any concerns before they become retention issues. The fifth and final system is designing for maximum leverage through specialization and systems thinking. The biggest advantage of remote teams isn't cost savings, it's access to specialized talent that would be impossible to hire locally. Instead of trying to find generalists who can do everything adequately, we hire specialists who are exceptional at specific functions. A world-class copywriter in Romania might cost 60% less than an average copywriter in San Francisco, while producing significantly better results. This specialization requires more sophisticated project management because you're coordinating multiple experts rather than managing generalists, but the quality and efficiency gains are enormous. We've also systemized repetitive processes to the point where they can run with minimal management oversight. Every recurring task has a documented process, quality checklist, and clear handoff points. This allows us to scale without proportionally increasing management overhead. The systems thinking approach means we're consistently looking for bottlenecks and process improvements. When something takes longer than expected or requires repeated clarification, we treat it as a systems problem rather than a people problem and update our processes accordingly. Remote work is not just about working from home. It's about building anti-fragile businesses that can attract top talent regardless of location, operate efficiently without expensive overhead, and adapt quickly to changing market conditions. The companies that master remote team operations will have massive competitive advantages over traditional businesses constrained by geographic hiring limitations and expensive office infrastructure. But success requires abandoning office-based management approaches and building systems designed specifically for distributed work. The framework I've outlined works because it addresses the core challenges of remote work: coordination, communication, accountability, culture, and leverage, with systematic solutions rather than hoping good intentions will overcome structural problems. This remote team framework has completely transformed how I think about scaling businesses and managing distributed workforces. The guide I mentioned walks you through the specific templates, interview questions, and management systems we use to identify and manage top remote talent across different functions and time zones. The link is in the description. With that, you can start building your own high-performance remote team immediately. And if this framework helped you see remote work differently, hit that like button and subscribe for more strategies on building businesses that aren't constrained by traditional limitations. If you're thinking about building your own remote team, I've put together a comprehensive guide that breaks down 50 specific tasks you can delegate to remote team members, complete with hiring criteria and management systems. Link is in the description. It includes the exact job descriptions and interview questions we use to identify top remote talent.